Rasa, are you lost in the political wilderness that is of today? Do you long for a viable third party candidate? Well, you just might be politically homeless. The Latino Slant is sponsored by Gutierrez Law Firm, celebrating the independent spirit of Chicano and Latino music, art, and film. Se habla español. Paula here, back in the Latino Slant. Big shout out to our sponsor, lawyer Jaime Gutierrez. Check him out. All right. One of my favorite guys as far as thought and opinion pieces coming from a Chicano perspective is the great Carlos Cantana, and he does not disappoint with his hashtag brown listed Substack. I'm subscribed to it. I recommend you as well. I will put the link in the chat. Let's get right to it. Latinos are wandering without political direction in 2023. He begins by saying, "Go read my latest column on the Daily Cella," which we will have as well. But I really dug what he has to say in his own Substack here, so that's what we're reading from. Someone commented on the Daily Cella's Instagram post about my column that maybe we should do what they did in the '60s and form our own political party. And I thought to myself, finally, someone gets it. Yeah, I can relate, brother. I can relate. I grew up with the remnants of the Crusade for Justice with leaders like Corky Gonzalez and Russell Means. So I'm not used to this world we live in where we collectively turn the other cheek, humiliate ourselves for profit, and sell out to corporations and politicians for pats on the head. The Chicanos and the NDNs I grew up with were made of stronger stuff. I had put on our community tab Corky Gonzalez's quote in regards to the two political parties are two heads of the same monster, and also to check out his poem that I recited here on the channel. Russell Means, American Indian movement and actor, activist, passed away several years ago. I'm with you, Carlos. Let's continue. And that seems like 1,000 years ago now. Well, here we go. Corky once famously said that the two main political parties in the U.S. are a two-headed monster that drinks from the same trough. I'll never forget that. So we can bicker, bitch, and moan and bury our sleeping giant heads in the sand all we want. Nothing changes for raza politically people uh, until we get people who we want to put in the work for change and real, meaningful change. That's what previous generations did. They said ya basta, which means that's enough, and put in the work, period. It doesn't matter if you're talking about Corky, Cesar, Dolores, Ruben Salazar, or the Chicano Moratorium. Those people put the goddamn work into to enact change. These days, all I see are entitled whiners, clueless sheep, and mindless fools riding the coattails of those who came before them and contributing absolutely nothing to La Causa. I see people asleep at the wheel, and I see people benefiting from the sacrifices of others without a care in the world. Raza priorities of late seem to be prominence on social media and little else. We put focus on flaming hot Cheetos and going viral for one idiotic reason or another. It's interesting because really quickly, I'll just divert really quickly since Carlos mentioned Flaming Hot, and I know he wasn't a fan of the movie or the subject matter. What is interesting though is the Flaming Hot, um, a real life person, Richard Montañez, who's come up under a lot of scrutiny, considers himself a very down Chicano. And I hope to get Richard on here and talk to him about not only his story, but just the lack of political changes and positive, kind of like that next level. Why hasn't Raza gotten there? So I think it's interesting that Carlos mentions Flaming Hot in this, and yet Montañez considers himself a down Chicano. So, yeah, little side note there, but let us continue. Yes, we are lost. We are wandering without direction, and we will continue to be cattle for those who will exploit our interest in exchange for power and pats on the head. And it's not like we don't have the numbers, hence the stupid sleeping giant analogy that never seems to go away. Yes, that is in regards to we've been called the sleeping giant as far as a social and political movement, a group of people since the 50s and 60s. And we will wake up. The sleeping giant's going to wake up and take control of their own destiny socially, politically, economically here in the States. And it's never happened as a gente. That's the sleeping giant analogy there. Okay. Our political bloc could potentially own the Southwest and beyond if we had any kind of organization and dared to step off the plantation. But we can't even seem to agree on which plantation treats us better, much less even contemplate stepping off of it. Very nice. And so for now, we are lost. It's comical to me how people worship films like Blood and Blood Out and American Me, that's me, which tell stories about exploited people who organized, fought, and took power on their own in those stories. Yes, it is ironic, Sarlos. Yet in real life, all we can seem to accomplish in the political arena is symbolic pats on the head for blind obedience. The original Brown listed is Sarlos Cantana. It's a reader-supported publication. Right on the money as always, my brother. He mentions getting pats on the head each time, and that's all you're gonna get from the left or from the right, from these two parties that don't really give a shit about you, that don't really understand you, that don't really care. And that third party option, we're always looking for that. I know as Chicanos, we're always looking for that. Is it RFK Jr.? Is it Cornel West? Could it be someone from a little bit right of center that's a maverick? You know, it's very interesting, and it's very also sad that someone who I just described, who hasn't come out of La Gente to be that person, because the numbers are there, guys. Okay, I want to know what you guys think. Now comment, now chat, now let's get the conversation going. You have here this piece, Sarlos Cantana. I will put in all the links for you, and it's always good to talk a little politics and social issues here on the Slant. Make sure you are subscribed, and wherever you're at, keep that slant fuerte. Gracias. Paz.